If ICS version 2.0 is adopted in November, a 5-year monitoring or field testing period will start next year. The IAIS has indicated that it is open to possible clarification and refinements of major flaws or unintended consequences identified with the ICS during the monitoring period. So to all of our witnesses, what actions are expected to result from this 5-year monitoring period? We can just go down the line, yeah.
Thank you, Senator. That'll be one of the main topics of discussion in the upcoming meetings. I think our view at FIO is that the monitoring period needs to be structured in a way such that it allows for continued transparent involvement of U.S. insurers and the IIS on improving those design flaws and making sure that the ICS is not fixed in place by November, but can continue to evolve as it needs to over the next 5 years.
And Senator, while we support the utility of group capital, because we do think that, looking at capital through a prism of just legal entities, has some risks. We're not going to sign on to ICS if it's fundamentally poorly designed or flawed. And that's why, as Director Seitz pointed out, we will continue to push for changes so that it's properly designed and calibrated. Mm-hmm.
I would only add, Senator, I agree with their comments, but it's also critically important during the monitoring period that the IAS communicates what it is not during the monitoring period. It's not a capital standard in which a regulator will take action on, and then could be used inappropriately by rating agencies or banks to judge the financial strength of what we feel is a flawed capital standard. I think that's an important element in the monitoring period, as well as that communication to ensure that communicate to the broader audience at large.
Mm-hmm. If your IAIS counterparts have different expectations, how should Team USA go about resolving differences in expectations?
Well, I would just say that's the ebb and flow of kind of international dialogue. I think we, the U.S., have a big stake in this since we are the world's largest insurance market. I don't think a standard produced by the IIS, which ignores the U.S., is going to be viewed as an international standard if it disrespects the world's largest insurance market.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any other remarks?
I would just agree with Mr. Sullivan. I mean, I think all of us at the panel are in alignment on the importance of this issue, and we'll continue to push it with our international counterparts.
How are the IAIS and FSB planning to design and implement the impact analysis to ensure that it will be conducted in a credible and independent manner? And what are each of your agencies doing to ensure that such analysis is undertaken?
Sure. I mentioned in my opening remarks how Vice Chair Quarles and the current chair of the FSB held a joint stakeholder meeting with members of the IAIS, the FSB, and interested parties. And that was really a first in terms of beginning the process to listen to the stakeholders about that and to get after doing exactly what you said in your question. So we're in early stage, I would say.
Okay.
It's also an issue that we are discussing at our Federal Advisory Committee on Insurance. We have an international subcommittee, and it's been one of the issues that has been raised there, and we're looking into it.
Now, during the monitoring period, all internationally active insurance groups are subject to confidential reporting, and it's important to keep this reporting exactly that, confidential. While the IAIS has taken some initial steps to explicitly state that the monitoring period is confidential to prevent third parties like debt underwriters and rating agencies from seeking data, companies continue to tell us that more assurances are needed. How will each of you advocate in the IAIS to keep company results reported during this 5-year period confidential? What else is Team USA doing to protect the release of this data?
Again, Senator, that relates to my prior comment. Again, I think it's critically important we continue to press for the IAS to make public statements that what this is and what it isn't. And again, it's during a monitoring period. It's not a prescribed capital requirement at this point in time, and you can't stress that enough because if a number gets out there, it could cause material harm to a company. So I think it's incumbent upon us each individually and as Team USA to continue to press that.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Director Seitz, if we were to remove U.S. representatives from international organizations on insurance standards, would those standards look more like EU standards or American standards?
No, we are committed to continued engagement in the international process. It is important that we engage because our U.S. companies want to compete internationally, and it's critical that we're there to help that happen as well. And also because we do not want inappropriate standards to come back and affect our U.S. insurance market.
Right, so if the U.S. is not at the negotiating table, international insurance standards will be written without us. And I think it's important to remember that these conversations continue, that the U.S. needs to have a seat at the table in order to effectively shape international standards to match the strong standards that we have here in the United States. We look forward to your work. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.